welcome to this week's episode. Happy New Year. It's been a while, I know, since you've heard my voice, but I do hope that you've had a peaceful Christmas and good New Year so far. I am not one to follow trends. I'm not one to do a 2025 recap online or get back into the swing of it on the 1st, 2nd of January. It's now the 14th of January when I'm recording this, and this will be released a couple of days later, but I just kind of do my own thing. That's kind of the way that I am. I know that Christmas would have been a very tough time for many of you who have lost pets, and that's why I'm very hesitant in saying Happy New Year, hope you had a lovely Christmas, because that's just not the case for so many people. So I'm not going to be the one to say that on this podcast. I'm just going to be real. I'm just going to be me. This is going to be a catch-up, really, a solo podcast. I've taken some time out, and I know that you've heard me in my previous episodes say that I've lost a bit of creativity and feeling a bit stuck, and I guess I still was, but feeling like I'm slowly coming back to myself. And I guess if you've missed my little update on Instagram, I do have a little bit of news, which I'm really happy to share on this podcast. So anybody that is a long-term listener will know that both of my dogs died back in October 2019, and it's been a little over 6 years of not being a dog mom, but being a foster dog mom in the last couple of years. And I think I've fostered 5 times myself and Steve, my husband. So we've done that 5 times, and it was incredible. And I was speaking to the most loveliest client there in the last month, and she was asking me about my fostering experience, and she said that she listened to an earlier episode that I had recorded on fostering and wondered if I would do a follow-up, and this is basically what it is. It's a follow-up episode about fostering, and I realised that I hadn't recorded anything about fostering since then. And if you had, it's called The Gift of Fostering. I'm not sure what number episode it is, but just have a scroll back, you'll find it, The Gift of Fostering. And I speak about my very first foster experience with Puka, a greyhound. He was pure white. He was absolutely gorgeous. Such a wonderful first experience. But now I've since fostered 5 more times since, and I guess I haven't even spoken about that much on the podcast. But yeah, so thank you to that wonderful client, you know who you are, who egged me on and encouraged me to do a follow-up episode about fostering, and this is what this is all about. But sorry, got sidetracked. Back to my little bit of news that I had shared on Instagram, which maybe some of you that are not on Instagram wouldn't have heard. Myself and Steve adopted a greyhound. Nala, she came into our lives 8 weeks ago. We had decided to foster again, and I think after only 2 to 3 weeks we decided to adopt Nala, which was very out of the blue and very just was not planned. So she obviously stole our hearts, but I will delve into that a little bit later on when I'm chatting. I'm going to go back to the OG way of doing this podcast, and I literally just wrote in my journal earlier on today all about how I was feeling about fostering, what I learned from the whole fostering process from start until now, and I journaled a lot in it, and I'm actually going to read from my journal, and I'm going to share some of my insights that I wrote about. So it is kind of like reading a journal entry to you again, which I have not done in so long, and I'm happy to do that. And today's journal entry is from today, the 14th of January 2026. um, and it begins 8 wonderful weeks with Nala. It's been such a beautiful time seeing her blossom and come out of her shell more and more, being more playful. It was our 5th time fostering, and I think that I want to write about what I've learned from fostering those 5 times. So I'll dip in and out of my journal entry as I'm talking to you, the listener, I think. So one of the things that I learned from fostering, and I want to just add that we fostered greyhounds. Here in Ireland, greyhound racing is still alive and well. Not that there is any or much attendance at the greyhound stadiums in Ireland. I don't know why it's still going, to be honest, but it's still alive and well, and myself and my partner are quite passionate about rescuing greyhounds, helping them find the homes that they deserve, a warm, loving home, a space on the couch, and family life, indoor life, and that's what they deserve. So we're passionate about that. But without delving too much into the greyhound racing industry in Ireland, I will keep it on topic. That's our passion. But lots of people, foster all kinds of dogs for all kinds of different reasons. This is just a passion of ours, and we were just drawn to the greyhounds from the get-go. So something I've learned is that it's okay to foster a dog or a cat without wanting to adopt. And that's just something that I think I've written down here that's important. And for me, many of you may know that I was a dog mom for nearly 8-9 years of my life, when Ozzy and Moose were in my life. And when they died, I did feel a sense of freedom that I hadn't felt in a very, very long time. And it's okay to want to travel, to visit, to see people that you haven't seen in a while, to go to places, to explore places that you haven't had the chance or opportunity to do. And for me, fostering enables that. And I think that it's a temporary commitment for sometimes a couple of weeks or a couple of months. And you know that. And then you still have those plans, those adventures, those visits that you have planned to do, that you want to do. So I think it's okay to foster a pet without wanting to adopt. And I think that's exactly what myself and Steve were doing up until our recent adoption. So, and it's it shouldn't be something that guilt attaches to when you feel a sense of freedom, when you go through a loss or you don't have any pets in your life anymore. And I think that although there's the deep sadness, there is also that element of freedom, and it's just logical. It's just a fact of life. You have that time to do the things that you never really got to do before. And although you probably wouldn't have changed anything, this is the reality now, and that's okay. So a second thing that I learned is it's okay to only want to foster for a short term, for a short amount of time, or in an emergency situation. So when you feel passionate about helping a pet in need, but you aren't ready or may not want to adopt at all, and you literally want to just be there as an emergency, just to take a dog for a weekend, in an emergency situation for very short term, and that's okay as well. Those people are just in high demand and really are needed to take a dog specifically from a pound who may be facing euthanasia in several hours' time. So that is perfectly okay to want to foster for that reason alone, whether you're not ready to even take a long-term foster or adopt, or you may not even want to have a dog as a permanent commitment or a cat as a permanent commitment. So that is just something that I learned. That is definitely something that I learned. Something else that I've written down here in my journal, I've learned that my angel dogs wouldn't feel like I'm replacing them. Also, that it's okay to feel a small element of guilt or uncomfortableness when a new pet comes into your home for the first time. So that is definitely something that I learned. It's like, especially when the first couple of fosters came into our house, like, there was just this feeling of, am I betraying the memory of Ozzy and Moose? Do they see this? Like, are they watching from above? Are they wondering, what is she doing? Like, I thought we were her favourites, her only ones, her heart dogs, and so on. But like, I don't feel that was the case. I would feel that they would be happy to see me smiling, to experience the love and affection and joy that another dog is bringing to my life, and that's how I feel. But also that it's okay to feel that small element of guilt, but just to recognise it, just to be aware of it and say, look, okay, I know you're there, guilt. I know, I feel you, but this isn't going to overtake the feelings of joy and happiness and the feeling of, I know that this is a right thing to do, and that this feels right for me in my life right now to do and to help. So yeah, that is something. Also, another thing that I've learned is not to compare each foster to my soul dog or to each other foster that I get. So not to compare foster dogs with foster dogs, and not to compare the foster dog with my soul dog. Specifically because we fostered greyhounds, and each greyhound would come from different circumstances. So a lot, like all of them have never been in homes before. They live in concrete kennels. And many have not ever met other dog breeds at all. So having lots of patience and lots of compassion for each foster, because they've all come from different situations but are all kind of going through something similar when they enter the home. They have to navigate the sounds of the home, different flooring, a television they've never seen, a vacuum cleaner, like an enclosed garden that they are free to roam around, like different weather that they've never been out in before. The list is endless. Honestly, it's endless. And sometimes I would have stayed awake at night worrying, what are they thinking? Are they okay? Are they worried about the noise of the fridge at night? Are they uncomfortable? Can they sleep? So but that's because being a foster mom is just, you're coming from a compassionate place and a caring place. Also, another thing I've learned is that even though your foster pet is moving to a new home and a new family, it still hurts immensely, and the grief can overcome us, and that's perfectly normal and that's perfectly okay. So you will still worry about them, even though you're getting all the pictures and the videos that they're running around having the best time, living their best lives in their new house with their new family. But you still worry about them, and that's okay. And sometimes you will grieve deeper for one particular foster dog than another, and that's okay. And that might be dependent on the amount of time they were with you, or it just might be dependent on how you bonded with that particular pet. And so like it just varies so much between each foster dog. And I know for me, when I thought that Puka was like our favourite that we bonded with, and then Gus came along, and he was just a bundle of energy and joy and made us laugh, and he was just a loony. He was like a big dopey greyhound who just loved to run and race and flick the toys up into the air and catch them, and just and he had broken his leg as a young pup, and he had a deformed back leg, and he would have been in pain, arthritic pain, and he never showed it. He just lived life to the full, and we got very attached to Gus. We had him for 4 months, and he had severe separation anxiety. So it was difficult. We didn't leave the house really at all. We didn't want him to feel that anxiety or discomfort. So he went to a house with 4 other siblings, other sighthounds, and he has an amazing life now. And we actually went to visit him a few weeks ago, and it was just incredible. He remembered us, and we were just so delighted to get an invite and to see him, and just to see him in his new home. And his new mum and dad are just beautiful, amazing people. And I think if anybody ever gets the opportunity to visit their foster dog after a number of, I think it had been a year since we had fostered him, and just to see him thriving so much was just we were just filled with pride and just feeling so grateful that we had given him such a good start in life. And that's what it came down to for us. It was just happiness, and he was just mad about seeing us and excited, so it was lovely. But yeah, I think that's the thing. Even though you know that a family is coming, and whether a meet and greet has happened, or you have a date of when they are moving to their new family and new home, and you're feeling that overwhelming sense of anxiety because you know how much you're going to miss them. But for me and Steve, we really, really felt, as each foster has gone on and we've received updates and pictures and videos, that's what really helps. That's what helps with the grief straight away after, is that we weren't afraid to ask for updates. We weren't afraid to ask for photos and videos, because that's what helped us to kind of navigate our feelings around the loss of our foster dogs leaving us. And I think, don't be afraid. If you have the opportunity, if you have the contact details of the new family, don't be afraid to ask for updates. And I'm sure they would be delighted to show you how the dog is getting on, or the cat is getting on. And I think that's what's important here. Don't be afraid to say, I'd love some updates, how are things, and show some photos and videos, and we'd be delighted to see it. And that is what helps us immensely with the loss, and those feelings of grief that come up with the loss of each foster dog. And we've just stuck with that kind of process and asked for the pictures and stuff. So anyway, I think that's something that we learned as time went on as well. Another thing would be, just reading it here off my journal, it's also okay to foster with the intention to adopt. So I'll say that again, it's also okay to foster a pet with the intention to adopt a pet. And this might be controversial. There are several rescues that kind of do things differently, animal rescues that do things differently from each other. And that's okay, that's perfectly okay. But some rescues don't like this concept of wanting to foster to adopt, because they stress that fostering is life-saving. And I'm not dismissing that, but just, I think for you, if you were thinking of fostering to adopt, I think just to be mindful of any forceful narratives that some rescues might be putting to you, basically. And I think there are lots and lots of rescues out there that are more than happy to support you if you're looking to foster to adopt. So whether you're upfront about it or not, whether that's personal to you, whether you're upfront and say to the rescue, look, I'm looking to foster to adopt because I want to make sure that I'm, going to offer what this pet needs and vice versa, and that this pet will fit into my lifestyle and vice versa, that my lifestyle is right and my environment is right for this particular pet. So when we met Nala 8 weeks ago, we had fully intended that we would just foster her as normal as we had with the 4 previous foster dogs. The thing is, we had future travel plans and kind of future bucket lists that we wanted to tick off that we hadn't done yet. But a few weeks into fostering Nala, I received a text from one of the rescue volunteers saying, "Louise, someone wants to meet Nala. She really likes her from her profile online, and they'd like to possibly take her for a home trial this weekend," which was probably like 2 or 3 days to the weekend at the time of the text. So kind of got this wave, this sense of unease, and like this mild underlying anxiety just rising in my body. And I just looked into Nala's eyes, into her beautiful eyes. I looked into her eyes, and I feel like she stared into my soul, and a lot of you will resonate with this, but and in that moment I just knew that I just couldn't say goodbye to her. I just knew. I don't know, was it just a gut feeling, my intuition? Like I always talk about, your intuition is always telling you stuff, giving you information, and I knew that I just couldn't say goodbye to her. And it was just this deep inner knowing that she was the one for us. And like, along with her already fitting into our life, she just ticked, all the boxes that we had dreamed of for a forever dog, basically. And of course, when Steve read the message as well, he kind of looked at me, we looked at each other, and we both were kind of thinking the same thing. And I knew that he was mad about her as well, and just like the kind of decision had been made, you know what I mean? So we did sleep on it for a couple of nights, of course we did, and discussed it at length over a number of days. But essentially, I had to get back to the volunteer and say, look, I think that this is going to be a possible adoption for us here. So, which of course was met with happiness and like excitement, which was great as well. So I've already been down the road of adopting a dog with severe behavioural problems in Moose, and a dog that had quite bad lead reactivity in Aussie. So although I wouldn't have changed any of it, it was overwhelming and it was challenging, but I don't regret it. I don't regret my time adopting those dogs. Like, I'm not for a minute. But this time, adopting a dog who isn't reactive and who is very social and enjoys alone time, doesn't have separation anxiety, is an absolute dream. It's what I kind of had said to myself that I always wanted in my next dog, was a dog that didn't cause me like huge amounts of overwhelm. Like, I'm very, very prepared, for the long-term commitment and the challenges that will bring. And I'm sure that we will come up with challenges as time goes on. And believe me, Nala isn't perfect. Like, there's no pet that's perfect, no dog that's perfect. But she is everything that I imagined and wanted in my next dog. And Steve as well. Those are the things that he had imagined. And we already have this beautiful bond made with her, and it's only been 8 weeks. She's just so confident, unbelievably affectionate, like incredibly affectionate. And I think ultimately, if that client I mentioned earlier on asked me, how did you know though, Louise? How did you know that foster was going to be a foster fail? that was the dog that you were going to adopt? How did you know? And ultimately, I'm just going to come back with a statement that probably isn't going to be very helpful to you, but it is, when you know, you know. And like, okay, that might not be helpful for you, but that was the reality for me and for Steve. When you know, you know. And she makes our hearts burst with joy every single day. Every day. And even saying that brings up emotion for me, because again, this has happened to me in my life over and over again. And if you've listened from the very beginning and heard earlier episodes, you will hear that I will have experienced devastating loss. And then soon after, or a number of months after, something absolutely wonderful comes into my life. So when my dogs died, like 4 months later, I met my future husband, and I had no idea. And it was just, he was there. And not only had I met this amazing person, I had met him right before COVID struck the world. If I hadn't have met him, I would have been completely on my own, in my house, on my own, for months on end, not being able to see family or friends and not getting out of the house. And I 100% believe that my mental health would have hit rock bottom. And like, the gifts that I feel that my dogs brought to me after they left is that, and also the fact that they inspired me to start this podcast. They inspired me to set up an Instagram page. They inspired me to then set up a business where I get to support and listen to clients from all around the world who just need to be seen and heard in their own pet loss experience, and they inspired that. And then 2025 was a year mixed with loss and with joy. It was the year that I married the love of my life. It was the year that I wrote a book and published my first book. I mean, it's incredible. And it was also a year where I lost relationships, and I experienced really, really difficult grief again, and where I thought that I just can't experience any more loss in my life, and just another one happened, and another one happened. And I really thought that, how am I going to pull myself out of this? And when I lost a really close friendship towards the end of 2025, who decided to enter my life but little Miss Nala, like a ray of sunshine, just picked me up, scooped me up, like into the arms of her heart, basically, and just said, come on, Louise, let's go. Let's continue to live life. You have so much joy, so much to be proud of, so much to look forward to in life. Let's go do this. And you're going to help me be confident in living in a home for the first time, and going to the beach for the first time, and walking in the snow for the first time. All of the first times, you're going to be with me, and it's just incredible. So every time I have experienced loss in my life, something new and beautiful happens. And I don't know if you can zoom out of your own life and look at that yourself. Zoom out and just, can you see that this might happen to you as well? Has this happened to you? And it doesn't have to be as dramatic. It can be small wins. It can be, I found some new hobby that made me feel alive again. I made a friend. Like, I experienced, something new, like new food. I started a new job. I travelled to this new city and had this amazing experience. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be like a huge, massive change or a brand new relationship. It can be anything. So just to zoom out of your own life and see, when you experience loss, what has happened, what joyful, beautiful new gift has come into your life since. And my voice is a bit shaky because I get emotional talking about this, because sometimes I can't quite believe that it happens like this for me. It's always happened like this for me. And especially when I've just, in the last 6-7 years of my life, when I've just learned to surrender to what the universe has in store for me. Just to surrender and to let go of me constantly want to control my life to an inch of its life, basically. I just learned to let go, to surrender, and it's been a long journey, because I've always wanted to be in control of every element of my life, because I didn't want to experience terror or fear or be afraid. I just wanted to feel secure. Definitely, that's a task for you to journal about tonight. Zoom out of your life and assess that and look at that and see what joyful, positive gifts have come into your life after loss of anything. So yes, I talked for longer than I had planned, but I think this episode really was needed, and I think fostering is something that is deeply unique and can be difficult to do. And the most common comment that I get when I tell people that I foster is, oh, I could never do that. I could never say goodbye to them. I'd get too attached. And that's just the most common question that I get. And I'll say, yes, I do get attached. And yes, it is hard to say goodbye, but I see the bigger picture when it comes to fostering. And that's always what I can come back to in my mind, in my heart. I always come back to the bigger picture. What is the bigger picture of fostering for me? And for me, it is that, particularly for greyhounds, if I didn't foster a greyhound, like many greyhounds are put to sleep if they've not got a place in rescue, if they haven't got a foster home. Many greyhounds are put to sleep, and many greyhounds are sent abroad, to countries where there's no animal welfare laws. And the prognosis for them is not good. But the amount of sighthounds that are put to sleep in Ireland every year is astronomical. And if I can make even a small difference, and just to see a greyhound blossom in a home environment and see them playing with a toy for the first time in their whole life, all the firsts, like I've mentioned before, is so unbelievably, I don't even have a word for it. It's so unbelievably amazing to see that and to feel that that's what keeps bringing us back to foster. It's just something to be so grateful to do, and we're proud of ourselves that we do it, but also we're so proud of these foster dogs. We're so proud of them. They're so resilient. They are so unbelievably brave to go through something that's so distressing and such an upheaval for them, that it's such important work to foster any pet, and any pet at all. Pets can come from all kinds of situations. And I think I always come back to, I see the bigger picture, and that's my answer to a lot of people that ask me that question. How do you do it? I couldn't. I see the bigger picture, and that's what I'm going to leave you with. If you are thinking of fostering, you've been following some rescue groups on social media and you're drawn to fostering, I hope that this episode has helped you. I mean, if you've any other questions, any specific questions about fostering, do email them to me, or get in touch with me and just let me know if there's anything else you wanted me to touch on or that I missed, and I'll try answer them on Instagram stories or something like that. But I really do feel that it's such a topic I'm passionate about, and that I hadn't covered it again in such a long time, so I'm glad that I did it. And also, thank you for listening to me rant on about my precious little girl, Nala, which she has her own Instagram page, Nala the Noodle. So if you ever want to see pictures of her, you can pop over there to her Instagram page, Nala the Noodle. It's just been an incredible experience, and we will adjust our lives to suit her. We found the most amazing daycare slash boarding, a lovely girl that does it in her home, very small operation, and I think Nala loves it there. It will enable us to have our travel plans and just integrate our life that way with Nala's comfort and happiness in mind. And I think that once you meet the right dog, when you know, you will adjust your life around your new bundle of joy. So I will leave it there. It has taken me half the month to get back onto this podcast, but I'm glad I'm back. I already have a guest interviewed for the next podcast episode, so keep your ears and eyes peeled for that one. But yeah, until next time, take care.